so sad?
I'm gonna switch over, and then as soon as after I mute my mic, just count to 5, and then you can go.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is time. Hello and welcome to the preseason race here at the Hungaroring. It is ISRL Esports Division 1 Championship, and we are here in short qualifying for our preseason event here. A little bit of a teaser, a little bit of a taster of what's to come here for this very, very exciting Season 5 that we've got planned for us. My name is Fallen Monkeys, or ISRL Monkeys. I'm your host here for the evening, joined by ISRL Knight in the commentator's booth. So, Knight, how you doing today? Are you excited for this racing action we've got on here at the Hungaroring?
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit sad that I'm not in one of those cars driving around, but the comms booth is probably the next best thing. A lot of drivers here for the Division 1 preseason race, and as mentioned, we are trying out a new comms, I guess, way of broadcasting. So we'll take all the feedback you can get on the stream today, whether it be your frame rate or your sound or what have you. Yeah, looking forward to getting this started, and I think we've already had a couple of offs there, haven't we?
Yeah, I'm looking at this here, and very quickly, right as I switched over to Eklund, it looked like it was one of the Aston Martins. I couldn't tell if it was Ryan Malta or Izad Kush that went out, because seemingly one after another, in two completely separate ends of the track, we saw both of the Aston Martins very quickly out of this short qualifying session. One of them on the exit of turn 3, heading down the hill towards the very fast left-hander, and another one through into sector 3 that we're seeing Eklund coming through right now on his flying lap, going for a little bit of a spin, and I believe in the wall through that. But of course, we are going to trek on here in the short qualifying. It's Preseason heading the timing tables here in this early stage of qualifying. Eklund crossing the line, a very, I mean, all things considered, a pedestrian 1:15.8 for the AlphaTauri driver for his first lap time here around the circuit. But I'm sure the times are going to speed up as the session plays along. I was noticing a little bit of traffic here heading towards Sector 3, but I think that's just drivers diving into the pit lane, finishing their flying laps. I'll put Mark on your screen in the Williams here this season, coming around the final corner. Can he maybe attack the time set from Preseason? Will not be beating that time, but good enough for a P3 so far, a 1:14.3, and puts himself right ahead of his teammate. Now, Knight, as we're trekking through into short qualifying, I know it's preseason, but I do want to ask you here, gearing into the race, gearing into this brand new season, what should we be looking out for? What are the storylines going into Season 5? Who are the drivers that we should be maybe keeping an eye on a little bit more than the others, or anything that you feel could be relevant to bring up going into Season 5?
Right, well, I think it's going to be kind of a changing plateau there. I don't think the guys that we're going to have to pay attention on at this preseason race are going to be the same guys as round 3 or round 7 or towards the end of the season. It's a brand new game. The handling model is different. A lot of drivers still getting used to the handling model, and especially a track like Hungary, where it's not the nicest circuit for drivers. It's a pretty tough track to go around. I feel like the drivers that are going to shine today might not be the drivers that are going to shine throughout the season, whether that's because they've just gotten more playtime on the game, they've gotten used to the mechanics more, or because Hungary is their best track, or what have you. I think as guys get used to the game, discover the depth of what the best setup is, that we're going to get some pretty big changes here in the order throughout the season.
Oh, definitely. Now, of course, I'm sure, as you're all aware, we're going to have those drivers that we just know are going to be near the top of the timing tables. Although it is going to be as difficult as it's ever been. One of those drivers, of course, Preseason. We know he's got the pace. We saw it last season. We're seeing it again very early on as he's in that provisional pole position here in these still early stages of qualifying. You gotta bring up Ariel Wouter, formerly known as Sweet Crown 19, who was and still is a 3-time ISRL champion, sweeping seasons 1 through 3. But as we saw in season 4, competition is getting fierce. Not here today, but of course Chapelelli is going to be a driver to look out for. I'm sure Rotation, who's going to be back again, not here today, but those are 2 drivers looking out for. But oh my goodness, a new driver here to ISRL, and I apologize for the name, Apin Starchier 321, had a big moment through qualifying, running into the wall, very high speed. Thankfully, he's not out of qualifying, but that's a broken front wing and a long ways back towards the pit stop to get that change, get some fresh set of tires on, and get that lap running one more time. But still 10 minutes to go. Please, go on ahead.
That's his second time having an issue there. He had one right around when Ryan Malta and Izzet both had their issues early on in qualifying. I did see the Alfa Romeo have a spin there, but he was able to get back to the pits with little damage. That could be a setup issue from the Dutch name, who I'm also not going to try to pronounce. Appen Starts. I did try to pronounce it, and it went bad. Yeah, like I was saying, he had a spin earlier in qualifying. He's had a spin on the same corner now. If it's not a setup issue, there's definitely a confidence issue going into turn 3, and so far it's kind of come back to bite him twice in this qualifying session.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna lean towards a setup issue, given like what you had mentioned, Knight. It is a new game. Drivers are still getting used to the setup, still getting used to the feel of the cars as well. And but it is something that we'll have to keep an eye out on. That maybe monitor it as the season goes along. Of course, here around the Hungaroring here in Hungary, it is definitely a difficult track. It has dubbed the nickname Monaco without walls. Just given the difficulty for overtaking, and in my experience, just the difficulty of the track itself. But a driver who seems to have this track down packed is AJ Wuhan in that Ferrari on your screen right now. I was about to say was on a provisional pole there with that 1:14.1, but right as I was about to make that point, his teammate Ariel Wouter showing that pace is still there for him in that Ferrari, a 1:13.976. the first driver to break into the sub 114s here on those soft tires, so a very solid lap time.
Oh,
and
Assassin.
Yep, right as I say that, Assassin saying, excuse me, that's my pole position, and I'd like to take that back, thank you very much. So he sets a 113.8, and he goes back into provisional pole position, but of course still 8 minutes to go, so I would expect this order to change once or twice before qualifying comes to a close. But I'm seeing...
I just did want to point out a couple laps going up there. Some guys not moving up, but they did actually improve quite a bit on their laps. Do Will, as Mark improves as well there, another man into the 113s. Do Will did improve to a 114.205, and back when Preseason was not at the top of the order, that was right behind the Mercedes driver, Wagoner. That's how I'm going to pronounce it for today, so apologies if that's wrong, but Wagoner as well improving to split the Ferraris. So a couple drivers there bringing the top of that Div 1 order just ever so slightly a little bit faster, and I think we're going to see maybe some guys like AJ Wuhan going out again and trying to beat that quite shortly.
Yeah, and very much so, at least in this stage. If you're not sitting in the low 114s here, you're very much so off pace. So it looks like right around XL Tin Can in 8th right now seems to be that cutoff. I was riding with Lorenzo on what I thought was going to be a flying lap, but I don't think that was the case. I think that was a banker lap for the Red Bull driver by all intents and purposes there with that very much pedestrian 138.9. But I'm sure there's going to be some pace improvement as he goes along. But like you were saying, Mark with a very quick time. I know Dewill's riding a very much a high after his Division 2 race and riding that here in Division 1. But sorry, Knight, what were you saying?
I was just going to mention Lorenzo, one of the couple of reserve drivers that we got here today. Demorts, you might notice Will as well. I mean, he's a regular face in Division 1, but Division 2 driver this season for the time being. And I wouldn't expect Demorts and Lorenzo to be super competitive today, given that they do race in the lower series. I wasn't expecting Demorts to actually out-qualify some of these guys so far. And like you mentioned, yeah, Lorenzo definitely not his true pace, but I would expect him to at least be able to bring the fight to Jamie 1 here, who's missing a little bit of pace that I was expecting from him.
Yeah, and I know just going back on Jamie 1, he's been here with ISRL since season 1. So I know yourself and I, we've had lots of opportunities to watch Jamie 1, and this is something I feel like I say it every season, but it's something I do notice every season. When Jamie 1 is on, when he's on his game, he's a very tough driver to race against, very fast, has a lot of skill. But I do feel like Jamie 1's biggest Achilles heel seems to be the consistency, because he's got races, like I was saying, he's on the ball racing like crazy, but he's got some other races where he just seems to be missing a step. But once he does get that consistency down packed, I think he's going to be a driver we're going to have to keep an eye out for, as I was going to say, Appin goes middle of the pack with that 114.3 to put his first lap time on the board. So showing that he belongs here with the likes of Division 1, like I said, right in the middle of the pack. And we'll see if he can possibly improve between now and the end of qualifying in about 4.5 minutes' time.
It's something that we'll have to stay tuned and watch. A lot of guys, I think, we see a lot of guys in the pits right now, but with 4.5 minutes left in qualifying, that means about a minute, 2 minutes from now, we're going to see a lot of cars leaving the pits, and then you might run into some traffic issues on the racetrack. So some of these guys might be better off going early. Yeah, it's going to cost you a couple hundredths, or not even a couple thousandths maybe in track temperature difference, but if it's better than being stuck behind somebody who's much slower than you on your outlap because you mistimed it and you left too close to him. But with all but 2 drivers in the pits currently, or I do apologize, I think some of them just left, but yeah, it's going to be a very, very busy racetrack here.
Oh, definitely, and I know right as you were mentioning the last few drivers that were diving into the pits, I was gonna say we're gonna have a little bit of a lull spot here between now and that 2.5 minute point where drivers were going to be heading out, but it looks like some of the drivers near the bottom of the order, Eklund, Lorenzo, they're thinking they want to go out early, take advantage of that clean air, take advantage of that the empty track they have ahead of them in order to yeah, definitely they should. In order to just get that clean air lap in, I can definitely make a bold prediction and say that Lorenzo is going to improve on this lap once he does start it. And I would not be surprised, given the track evolution that we've seen, if Lorenzo does improve. The question is, can they improve enough to maybe launch themselves into maybe a top 5? I would say maybe hopefully a top 7, top 8. Or will they improve, but not nearly enough once the order is all said and done? But we'll find out soon enough, as Eklund is starting his flying lap. Now, Knight, do you want to take us through a lap with Eklund, or?
I do suppose I could, coming on board with him coming out of turn 1. It's a nice wide exit. That curb's a bit tricky to run on. Here, you can take a few lines through there. Generally in qualifying, you're going to take a very late apex because it lets you set up very nicely for the run up the hill here. Lets you conserve all that speed. Quick lift off there, downshift to 6th, and around turn 4 and 5 we go. You don't want to touch that curve on the inside. That curve on the outside there on the exit, bit tricky in this year's game, and you're going to want to stay away from that one as well. Same goes for the exit of the chicane there. You go very slow, then that curb, no matter how slow you are, can just jump your car and ruin your lap for you. And through here, we're finally getting out of the slow section, very wide. But in this year's game, I don't think that's going to matter too much. You don't get a warning or a invalidation for going wide there. Keeps it together here through the final couple corners. Another bit of a set of 2 kind of awkward corners in the sense that you can take more than one line through. He's going to take an early apex, the first one, and a late apex out of the second one to the main straight. Crosses the line, P10, 114.4, very close to the guys ahead of him. I don't think that's quite the lap he wanted, though, because P10, when you're only 4/10 behind P4, you got to tell yourself, oh, I could have done maybe just a little bit more there and gotten those positions.
Yeah, and there was, I mean, there was room for improvement. Like you were saying, there was the one corner he took right at the end of Sector 2, very, very wide, and that did lose a lot of time. As much as it might not look like it is the case, you do lose a lot of time going wide compared to taking that optimal racing line. So there is room for improvement, but all in all, a very good lap time. As now you can see the grid, or not the grid. I mean, most of the grid is on the track right now to get their final lap set. So we're gonna start seeing sooner rather than later the true battle for pole position, as we've got less than 30 seconds to go. XL Tin Can making a name for himself, a 113.7 to snag that provisional pole away from Preseason here with 15 seconds to go. More drivers now about to cross the line. I've got Duwil riding on board with at the moment as he's coming through the final few corners. Let's see what he can do now as qualifying ticks down to a close. Everybody's got to get the lap time set. Preseason, a 113.5. He goes fast. This Duwil across the line. It's P3 for the Alpine driver here, so a very solid lap time. Red Bull crossing next. That was Lorenzo, I believe, just completing. He does go a little bit faster, so 114.2 for Lorenzo. So I think, ooh, and actually, right as I was saying that, it looked like Mark had a bit of a moment, clipping the wall, taking end plate damage. I think that's going to be the end of his qualifying. Let's switch over to the Ferrari. Ariel Wouter, as he's through Sector 2, approaching the final corner of Sector 2 before hitting Sector 3, a little bit wide. Not as bad as we saw Lorenzo do, but the question is, can he go fast enough, snag that pole position away from Preseason? XL Tin Can. He was happy with his lap diving into the pits, so that is going to be the end of his qualifying. But here we go around the final corner. Nathan JB going second fastest. Ariel Wouter only P6 for him here as he crosses the line. So a fantastic lap from Nathan, and that's going to do it here for qualifying as Mark the final driver to finish. But with that end plate and the invalidation, he is going to remain in 7th. So possibly a disappointing qualifying for Mark in the Williams car. But for Preseason, it's a pole position here for the Mercedes, and for Nathan JB, a very solid lap time to start on the front row of the grid alongside him.
And that is uncharacteristic in the best possible way for Nathan. I was not expecting him that far up the order. Preseason, we all know he's fast. I think we all expected him at least in the top 3 there. He takes our pole position. XL Tin Can with a strong qualifying performance in his debut race at ISRL. It is a preseason. I know it's not going to count on the record books, but first time on track, you want to make a good first impression. And Wagner with a 4th place. That's strong as well. But it's going to be the disappointments of qualifying, I think, that are going to be the bigger story after this session. Of course, Mark and Wouter probably not quite where they wanted to be up the order. Ryan Malta and Isaac Kush as well, struggling there after their early incidents in qualifying, not getting a lap time in. And it's going to be guys like Eklund, Jamie 1, who might be charging through the field. Those are the guys we're going to have to keep an eye out for here in this race.
Yeah, definitely, and I do have to say a very disappointing qualifying for the Aston Martin team. Both drivers crashing out of qualifying very early on. They're going to have their work cut out for them here in this preseason race. But of course, one of those drivers being Isaac Kush, we've seen the pace, and we've seen Isaac time and time again have these fantastic drives, even though he is starting from the back. But I know for Isaac's case, it's once again, I've said it before, just a matter of staying patient and not trying to force an overtake that isn't there for the sake of working his way up the grid, because that is when he can get into trouble. That's when he ends up taking those unnecessary pit stops and remains idle as the race plays on. But it looks like we're not going to have too much of a moment here between qualifying and the race. We're jumping right into it here, as it looks like the Division 1 drivers just they want a smooth transition, jump right into the race. So we've got the one red light. It comes off as we're kicking off the formation lap here. I'll take us through the grid order just one more time here. We've got, as mentioned, Preseason starting on pole position with the fantastic lap. Nathan JB in the Alpine starting in 2nd on the front row of the grid right alongside him. Row 2 will be the McLaren of XL Tin Can and Wagner 22, who's in the Williams. We've got Du Will and Wouter behind them in on row 3, starting 5th and 6th. Mark and AJ Wuhan in 7th and 8th. Lorenzo and I'm just going to call him Apin for the time being, or Apin, rounding out the top 10. Best of the rest here, P11 is going to be Eklund, starting on the medium tires with that free choice of tires. Jamie 1 in 12th, D Mortson 13th, Ryan Malta in 14th, also opting for the medium tires, with Isaac Kush rounding out the back of the grid, starting in P15, and he's going to be looking to go very long on that set of hard tires. So I do gotta ask, do you like that strategy from Isaac Kush, putting the harder tires, or do you think he probably would have been better off on these on the mediums?
Well, he's starting at the back. I'm sure he's got some quite good reasons to be putting on the hards. Mostly, I would say, probably hoping for some safety car. At a point in the race where most of those medium or soft runners can't go for mediums until the end. Or softs till the end, sorry, and he's able to hop on the mediums, gets that pit stop from there. Maybe when he was doing his practice, he just felt like the mediums weren't meshing well with his car, and he preferred the feel of the hard tires. Whether or not it pays off, I think we're going to figure out shortly here as these cars finish lining up on the grid. We're going to get ready for the race, but interesting tactic nonetheless there from Isaac Kush.
Yep, definitely so. We'll see how everything plays out, but as the drivers are lining up to the grid, we are just about set for the 5 red lights to start the preseason race around the Hungaroring. Up to 4 lights. 5 red lights. and the lights are off, and we are racing here in Hungary as drivers are charging towards the line, battling for position. Looks to be a good start from Preseason, but here comes Nathan thinking about making an overtake into turn 1, but it looks like there's a lot of jostling for position in the midfield. That was Wagner going for a half spin. He's in the wall, coming back on track now, going to bring out a yellow flag, but drivers jostling for positions here in these early stages for sure. My timing is completely off the whack, so hard to see. Side-by-side battles for everybody, but it looks to be Preseason hanging on to that lead here, but I think XL Tin Can looking for a possible overtake. At least he was, but now looks to be under pressure more from Mark, but Mark's got to watch out because Wouter right behind got that front wing right alongside, but just unfortunately did not quite have enough room to get the overtake done. And now his driver's getting through the very technical sector 2 of this track. We're a little bit more single file now. Drivers just battling, keeping where they need to be, but we've got a yellow flag here, a virtual safety car coming out as Wagner not having the debut he was hoping for. It looks like he crashes out in sector 2, and that is going to bring out the first virtual safety car of the afternoon here.
Yeah, not the start Wagner wanted. He had that half spin there off the turn 1, and then there was a Ferrari as well, I believe, that had some issues. And this is going to be, I said we were trying some new system. If you heard a fan there, I walked in front of it. I said we were trying some new systems here. Well, we got a virtual safety car. Let's see how they turn out there. So we're going to switch over to our very nice and trusty YouTube replay, and oh my god, this went so bad.
Goodness, but hang on a minute, I was supposed to cut you off. We're back to green flag, and right as I switched over, that is CRL Do Will having a big accident as he head through the exit of turn 3, and that is unfortunately Do Will out of this race, bringing out a yellow flag, but no safety car now, as go figure, right as we switch over to the replay, a big accident happens on track. Only caught the end of it from my end, but it was enough to see the damage. That was Do Will's Alpine going for a spin and a half on the exit. But we've got another yellow flag here, as that's AJ Wuhan having a moment. He's got no front wing on that car, and that's another victim of the exit of that final right-hander of sector 2 heading in towards sector 3. So for two drivers very close together, two of our drivers here having a big moment, but thankfully for AJ, not as bad as it could have been, all things considered. But through all of that, we are still under green flag racing, as DRS is now enabled here to help encourage some overtaking for this first race of the season. Or the preseason.
Yeah, that was quite hectic VSC restart. We'll give that one a go again. We'll see if we can get the replay up, because I did want to test this feature. So guys in the chat, let me know how it is. But we're going to take a look at the start. And as you can see on the start, there are a lot of shuffling. They go 3 wide down the middle between the Ferrari, the Alpine, and the McLaren. I think that's Do Will, Tin Can, and Wouter. And you can see Wagner there having a big moment. And then into turn 2, it's going to be AJ Wuhan who's going to go wide onto the grass. That's how he fell down all the way. Before, turns 4 and 5 came around. But that was quite the chaotic start. I'm surprised, though, given how many of them went side by side and 3 wide, that we didn't see any incidents until much later on.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a surprise, but a fantastic race, and it does go show the skill of these drivers here in Division 1, the patience, the skill, the respect. That's what you love to see here, even in preseason. All the fantastic driving. Looks like D-Mort's had a little bit of a moment, but he is back now on his way. Eklund putting a lot of pressure here on Jamie and getting close with the help of DRS, but not close enough. Also needing to watch out because he's got Ryan Malta, who's putting a lot of pressure now, trying to get past. But here on the Hungaroring, not the easiest track to overtake. You gotta get the overtake done really just along that start-finish straight. But when you're stuck in a train, similar to what we're seeing Ryan Malta being stuck in with Eklund, a little bit of a DRS train. You're kind of stuck. You're stuck in idle, it seems, more than anything else. But we'll see how they can manage that. But a little bit
Absolutely.
further. Yeah.
I was going to say, Eklund, Jamie 1, they're no slouches. They had some bad qualifying sessions, but we're talking about long-time Div 1 drivers. Eklund, couple podiums last season in Division 1. Jamie 1 as well. I think he snatched a podium or two on some of those good tracks that we were talking about. And so it's going to be quite difficult for Ryan Malta, or either the Aston Martins, in fact, to make headways there. If he's going to clear one, he's going to be stuck behind the other. He's going to have to be able to dispatch both of those cars quickly if he wants to make progress up this grid.
Definitely. Now, right as I switch back to the action here, it looks like Nathan JB and Mark having a bit of a battle here, going side by side here down the hill. Nathan JB getting the slightly better line, so was able to fight Mark and keep him behind with the inside line on that left-handed corner. Now they settle for single file, but it's showing the power of DRS here down the start-finish straight, opening that opportunity for an overtake to Mark, who just was unable to capitalize, unable to find that extra pace he needed with that battle going through into turn 2, turn 3. But I think this battle is just about to kick off here between Nathan JB and Mark. And I'm sure Wouter lurking in the shadows, as he likes to do sometimes, just waiting for his opportunity to strike. But crucially, as this is happening, AJ Wuhan, I think he's had enough. That is the end of his Grand Prix, as he, I believe, retired in the pit lane. So we are now down one Ferrari in this preseason race. But let's ride on board with Mark now, as they both have DRS to chase down. Nathan JB can thank XL Tin Can for that. Once again, Mark going down the inside. They're side by side now. Nathan JB getting a bit of a better exit with that wider line. Once again, Mark thinking about going down the inside line, but just did not have that car in the right spot. Not looking to force an overtake here this early in the race. So once again, it's Nathan JB in third, Mark in fourth. Oh, but right as I say that, no! Nathan JB going for a spin. Knight, I think you might have caught that a little bit better than I did. What happened there?
He got a little wide, got on the curb, and the rear end just started to step out. He goes around again as he tries to go. Tires are a little bit too cooked for that. He did a very good job at keeping that car out of the wall, but unfortunately for Nathan, a lot of positions lost, and that second spin is going to do him no favors at all as he gets back into the race and hopefully to the pits to change that tire set.
Oh, definitely, but that still is a lot of time lost as Nathan finds himself near the back of the order. But right as we say that, there was D-Mords through Sector 2, really not having that race to remember. And for D-Mords, that is going to be a DNF, and we are now under full safety car here to start lap 7 of this Grand Prix for that accident in Sector 2 that was brought out by D-Morts. But I'm sure Nathan JB, after getting caught up in that, near the back of the order, but
and the rear end just started to step out. He
finished straight. But when you're stuck in a train, similar to what
YouTube replay, and oh my god, this went so
oh my
bad.
goodness, but hang on a minute.
Out there, so we're going to switch over to our very nice and trusty YouTube replay, and oh my god, safety car here. I don't mind. I hope you don't mind if I quickly take over the main stream, and I did want to show you a little bit of the oh, have I messed up? I'm still getting used to this program. I'm very sorry if it gets confusing, guys. Over to our very nice and trusty YouTube replay, and oh my god, this went so
oh my
bad.
goodness, but hang on a minute. I was supposed to cut you off. We're back to green flag, and right as I switched over, that is CRL Do Will having a big accident as he head through the exit of turn 3, and that is unfortunately Do Will out of this race, bringing out a yellow flag, but no safety car now, as go figure, right as we switch over to the replay, a big accident happens on track. Only caught the end of it from my end, but it was enough to see the damage. That was
gonna try to shuffle through it right here. There, I'm still getting used to this program. Please don't hate me. And if we. There we go. All right. Sorry if it's taking a while, guys. Look, we can take another look at that start here. Look at the shuffling in the back there. That leads to three wides almost into turn one. And so surprised that you can see there both Ferraris were going 3 wide with different sets of cars. Wagner there getting some trouble early on. And then again, look how many cars are 2 by 2 through turns 3. We've got 4 sets of cars going wheel to wheel there through turns 2 and turn.
Help encourage some overtaking.
Drivers and their testament to just how well they are able to drive wheel to wheel and in close proximity with other drivers in the division.
Yep, a fantastic show of skill indeed. Looking at as I'm watching the start here from my end, but here looking back at the racing, well, I'll call quote unquote action here under safety car, you'll notice that we have a slightly different leader than what it was when we tuned into the replays. Eklund is now leading the race under the safety car because Preseason decided to take his pit stop here, and he came back out down in 10th position, just ahead of his teammate, who is still well, I was going to say still trying to catch up to the back of the grid, but has caught up. But just unfortunately for Nathan JB, nope, never mind. I'm getting my names mixed up. So nope, Nathan JB is still trying to catch up. Preseason is now right at the back of the grid in 10th position on the fresh set of hard tires, going to be looking to charge back up the field, but definitely will have his work cut out for him, as looks like now. That was Appen who was taking a pit stop off of those 5-lap-old medium tires. So everybody taking at least a pit stop now, except for Eklund, who's looking to go a little bit longer, given he can on those medium tires, sticking to his strategy. But we'll see if that's going to play out for him once we do go back to green flag racing. I think the key for Eklund is going to be to build that gap very quickly after the safety car restarts, so he doesn't fall as much as he could be with the grid bunched up if he is planning on pitting a few laps from now under green racing conditions.
Oh, sorry, my mic was muted there. I was making sure that you guys weren't hearing my typing, and I forgot to flick it down there. Yeah, lap 9 out of 35. It's not been the fastest of race starts in the sense that we've had some VSCs. Now we've got a safety car. Like you mentioned, Nathan getting back there into 10th, but already 4 drivers out in 9 laps. Are we going to get another finish just like the other races earlier today with very few finishers because of how deadly the curbs and this track can be? And I think one thing that we're going to be seeing a lot this season, season 5, whether it's our league or the next, is some guys maybe just refusing to adapt their driving style to this game. It's not like the last games where you could just take every curb as quickly as you can and go all out on every corner because the curbs actually do affect you. You can crash because of the curbs now. I think we're going to see a lot of guys there not paying heed to that and racing like they can take the curbs and then losing it. I mean, I did it myself today. I crashed out of the lead because I went a little bit too hard on the curb and my car spun around. So expect through the season, I think, some frustrated drivers at the way some of these tracks are built as we get back under green here.
Yeah, back under green flag racing. Around the final corner they go to start racing here on lap 10. Eklund getting a fantastic start. XL Tin Can, though, is under pressure from Mark and Wouter, who are, like I said, putting a lot of pressure. Mark, so more than the rest, getting right up alongside, right up into that rear diffuser of the McLaren driver, but unable to capitalize on that restart here. Still in third, but I think Mark is just waiting for his opportunity to strike, possibly once DRS opens up. But oh my goodness, Eklund, right as I say that, I saw it from a corner of my eye. That is Eklund out of this race, and for XL Tin Can, he now finds himself leading this race as turn 4, and I believe the curb, and like you were mentioning, the different driving style and the different way to attack that corner is proving to be very difficult for some of these drivers, and for Eklund, it did not work out well. But what happened here? This is Mark now out of this race, and that's going to bring out another safety car. Now, I have no idea what happened. Oh, so that's what happened to Mark. Very similar to what we saw, I believe it was Demorts who did, and possibly another driver here this race on that final right-hand corner before the end of Sector 2, clipping the curb, going a little bit wide, losing control of the car, and unfortunately running into the wall that shows up very quickly, especially when you have no more control of that car. But just like that, one lap later, back under safety car with now 9 drivers remaining in the Grand Prix.
And I don't know if I spoke too early or something. I did say some guys weren't going to change their driving style. They were going to keep attacking every curve and every corner just like you could in 2020 and in 2019. And what we're going to end up, and I guarantee we're going to end up with a lot of this in the first opening races, is a lot of DNFs. And I've seen guys, there's drivers who have quit because they don't want to race with the style of curves. And it's like, guys, things change, you know? Think of this as new regulations, all right? We've got a different car. You've got to adapt your driving style. If you're a quick driver, you're going to be quick regardless. You might not get that extra 10th or 2, but that's a change that you're going to have to make. You're going to have to adapt your driving style to these new cars and to these new physics, and if you don't, you're going to end up at the bottom of the list with a nice little DNF next to your name. And we've seen some guys quit and retire because they're like, oh, I don't like this game, and come back next year. Well, guess what? Physics probably aren't going anywhere. They're going to probably be there next year too. Will they be the same? I don't know. I'm not Cody's. But, you know, if you attack every curb and you pretend like it's last year's game, and because that's what made you quick last year's game, you're not going to have as much success as you did last year's game. You're going to actually end up facing the wall more times than not. And I think, you know, those guys, those F1 Richies in Division 3, Nole in Division 2, those guys that don't seem to win a lot, but they pull out the title anyways, you know, because they're always finishing a consistent 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th place finishes every race, those are going to be your title winners this year. And that's pretty much my prediction for all of our divisions in ISRL Season 5. It's going to be a guy who's not going to have the most wins in the division that's going to win the division.
Yeah, of course, it's going to come down to consistency, like you were mentioning, and, I mean, the other thing that we have to keep in mind too, especially with these curbs, is that you as an individual driver, you're not the only one who's having to learn this with the new curves. Everybody else here picking up this game is going to have to get used to this brand new driving style. You got to give it some time, give it some repetition, find those new quickest lines, and of course, I think the key as well is going to be learning which curbs can you ride, and which curbs do you have to just essentially steer away with a 10-foot pole. You don't want to get anywhere near them. I think that is going to be really the key for a lot of these drivers, in just figuring out what curbs you can touch, which curbs you can't, and how to navigate and circumnavigate that. Because of course, curbs that bite you in the butt, it's not new. Especially here around the Hungaroring, more than I think any other track. Need I remind of the wonderful sausage curb that I think everybody has learned the hard way that you cannot touch, regardless of how much you want.
Normally I know what corner you're talking about, but this is 2021, so I'm gonna have to ask you to specify which of the death curbs you're talking about. There's about 6 on this track.
About 6, but I'm thinking about the one that's been there, the OG death curb of I believe yes. Turn 5.
Turn 4.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a reason that number 4 sounds like the word death in Chinese, and that curb is the reason.
Yeah, but for
definitely was around when they invented the Chinese language.
Yeah.
I think we're back under Korean the slaps. Let's talking about letter etymology. Let's start talking about the race.
Yeah,
I'll
so
let you take back over.
Around the final corner we go. Everybody getting a fairly decent start, at least for the first half, but a big separation from Preseason in 6th and Apen in 7th. But at least for this front group of runners, everybody sticking close together. Nobody going for a lunging move into turn 1. Drivers just staying a little bit more cautious this time around after what is the, I believe, the third restart we've had now, all considered, or the third start of the race, not getting as aggressive, seeing that it's a bit of a longer race, lots of points on the board. But for XL Tin Can, he's been doing what he has to do on the hard tires, no less, as well. I just noticed that here in the lead of the race. So we can go a long while on those tires before having to take a pit stop. But lots of very hungry drivers chasing by. You've got Preseason now already putting a lot of pressure on the Alpine of Nathan JB through Sector 2. I don't think I'm going to expect much of an overtake, but I will be keeping an eye out on this battle here, especially coming through into Sector 3, the final few corners, down that start-finish straight. I expect Preseason to get a jump on and possibly overtake the Alpine driver to get up into P5, but now we're seeing that. It looks like Ryan Malta maybe not getting the exit he was hoping for. 3 cars back to back to back. Are we going to see anybody try for a move here? It looks like it's going to be Nathan. Thought about doing something down the inside, but maybe more of a fake out than anything else. If I ride on board with the Alpine now heading down towards the hill, a similar situation that Nathan found himself into with the likes of Mark a few laps ago, like we saw. But once again, Nathan just can't get by. Ryan Malta will remain in 5th, and Preseason remaining in 6th position behind. But as I've said before, I think this battle is only getting started here, especially now that it looks like that group that didn't get the restart now under that safety car has now caught right back up, and they're now going to get involved in this action too. But oh my goodness, that was Jamian, who I caught that right from the corner of my eye, having a big moment there. Sector 2 proving to be a very challenging section of the track, even more so this year in the early stages, and he is now going to have a big gap to climb before catching up to the rest of the grid. Now, Knight, did you see what happened there?
Lost it on the exit, and car snapped right, a bunch of oversteer. He sent it full opposite lock, trying to save it. It did not work, and he went nose first there into the wall. An unfortunate I didn't see much of it. I think I might have seen just as much as you there. But one thing I was thinking about right before I saw that happen. Do they get 2 pairs of hard tires, or do they only get 1 this race? Because Islet Kush's tires are 9 laps old, which means he's pit at some point, and he started on the hards. And I'm trying to figure out, did he just put another set of hards on, or did he do a lap on the mediums or another tire, and then put the hards back on? Because if he did that, there's a chance he could stay right up until the end on those tires. He could try, at least. If he hasn't, though, if he was using if he went hard to hard, because I don't know if they have 2 sets of hards here. I could pull up the race director and check, but I prefer the drama of not knowing.
My goodness, no, I hate to cut you off, but Wouter having a big accident there himself. Same corner we saw Demorts have his moment. Same corner we saw, I think it was no, it wasn't Eklund, but we saw somebody else have that moment, that final corner before Sector 3, and Wouter fell victim there. Lorenzo having a moment, he himself, but I was going to say, and apologies for ruining the drama, I actually did pull up the pit stops, and I can't say exactly which tire Isaac Kush put on, but he has made 2 stops so far this race, so it is leading me to believe that he put on a softer set and went right back to those hard tires now to try to go to the end of the race.
Yeah, will they last? That's a whole other question. Regardless, if he doesn't have to pit again, I think this racetrack has proven one thing: is that it's very hard to overtake. So he's just got to keep the car pointing the right way, which is again proving to be a little bit harder for some drivers. He might be in for a good result there. Of course, the DNFs help, but this isn't a shabby field. The guys left here are some very quick drivers, so is not got an easy task ahead of him.
Oh no, definitely not. Definitely not in the case. But oh my goodness, that might help a little bit, as I caught that from the right from the background. That was Appin who had a moment. Once again, that same corner that we saw. I keep saying Demorts. Wouter, who I remember 1 lap ago. Now Appin, who has suffered the similar fate in that same corner. No front wing. Gonna have to get that switched. So already, heed the warning. That corner is not one you want to push. That is going to bite you in the butt, but all the while, Preseason right on the back of Nathan JB, who seems to be right on the back of Ryan Malta. 3 drivers now battling for position as Appin now. That is the end of his race, and that is going to bring out the full safety car once again here to clear up that Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, he's just overcooked it into the pit entry, and he's gone right into the wall there. And that's going to be one wheel less on the car as they wheel it back around to the pit lane. But you know what's happening here, and it's the same thing I warned about, is these guys are overdriving the car, and they're not driving with this year's physics and way in mind. They're just driving because like they're used to. And you're going to have to relearn the car, and you have to get used to it again, or else we're going to get a lot of races like this season. We start with 15 drivers. That's a lot of drivers. That's some days we get 15 drivers in a race with the reserves, in a full race. Obviously, we strive for 20, but it happens. People get busy. There's already half the grid gone. So somewhere, these guys are going to have to change how they're driving, because this isn't going to be a very hard to predict season if we got half the grid DNFing every week, because something tells me it's going to tend to be the same guys. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see, because, yeah, I'm sure a lot of these guys hoping to start their season with a good result. Instead, they're starting it with a DNF.
Yep, I mean, of course, the one solstice we can bring through all of this is that it is preseason at the end of the day, so it is the place to iron out the kinks for essentially for everybody, and I think some of these drivers might be doing just that, trying to iron out the kinks. It could be for some of these drivers just their first true. I mean, maybe not for Division 1, but I know for some of the other divisions, it could be their first true assessment of league race driving in terms of the mindset, in terms of the added, I'll be honest, the added stress, the added pressure of taking part in an official league race event. And it's something that trying to get into that mindset with time trials, with open lobbies, you can do all you can, but nothing can replicate that feeling when you're in the seat of the car behind that wheel, and you're lining up for that league race, and those 5 red lights are getting up and ready. It's a completely different mindset in my experience. And
yeah, there's a reason they call it a simulator, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's because it simulates it. It's not the real thing. It simulates it. So if you're driving, I know this isn't a simulator, but I think it gets the point across anyways, is if you're simulating races, if you're doing 50% against the AI, if you're doing some online lobbies, a 25% race, it might simulate a race like you would in a league race, but it's not the real thing. There's no alternative for the real thing, and that's why guys like Preseason is doing 5, 6, 7, 8 league races a week. I know he used to race 9 league races a week, because that's the best practice. It's doing the real thing. And it's definitely paid off for him. I don't know how much the other guys have been driving, but practice will be king. Practice is going to make perfect in this game, that's for sure. We're already seeing a very strong correlation with the guys who are practicing more getting the better results, because of how different this game is and how much there is to get used to.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And I mean, one of the things I was looking at this here while you were making your point. I'm looking at the order right now, and surprisingly or unsurprisingly, we've got some very familiar faces now running at the top of the order. It's Isaac Kush. We were talking about that strategy, the bold strategy with taking those early pit stops, putting those hard tires back on. At least for now, it seems to have worked out for him, as he was able to essentially stay out while everybody else took a pit stop under the safety car. And he now gets to lead this race once we do go back to green flag. And for Ariel Wouter, who, like I was saying a few laps ago, had that moment, found himself essentially down and out, away from everybody. That kind of worked out very well for him, as he was able to put on that set of hard tires, or put on another set of hard tires, I guess, and find himself back up into second place now in a prime position for what would be in normal circumstances circumstances, a very solid haul of points here. Of course, it is preseason, so it's more about bragging rights than anything else. But definitely neat to see, especially now with the way the strategies are working out here, as we're going to head back to green flag racing once again to start lap 20 with, like I said, some familiar faces leading the charge. But of course, the likes of Ryan Malta, who we saw in a few showings last season that he's got the pace. And with that quicker tire, should be a driver to keep an eye out for here on this restart.
Yeah, we'll have to see what he can do. Is it at the front there? He's got the old tires. Clearly at this point, I think he's going to be sticking with them till the end of the race. But with 14 laps as he starts this, everybody behind him has fresher tires than him. So he's going to have to make that Alfa Romeo extremely wide if he wants to stay ahead and in the lead.
But very crucially, though, off the restart, Isaac got a pretty good start compared to... where did I say that? Oh, no, that's Nathan JB. Another one bites the dust here as it's thankfully seemingly only going to bring out some yellow flags. We're going to continue racing now, but 7 drivers remaining here in this Grand Prix with now Ryan Malta putting pressure on Wouter. And speaking of Wouter, I was just before that happened, I was going to say Wouter not having the best restart under safety car compared to Isaac Kush. Gap already being formed, but Ryan Malta was right behind that Ferrari with the quicker tire, with the fresher tire, just unable to get that car alongside, not able to brake late enough to warrant going for an overtake. But as this is going to play out, Preseason now putting a lot of pressure on those medium tires. He wants to get involved, so this is going to be a 4-car battle, I think, sooner rather than later for position, for the top 4 positions here of this Grand Prix. So settle in, because I think we're going to be in for a treat now, especially in a couple laps time once DRS really starts to kick in and we start seeing these overtakes and these side-by-side battles going into turns 1, turns 2 here in what could be just a 2-3 laps time at the most. Already though, Ryan Malta now looking to go down the inside. Is he gonna make it stick? He's got the front, he's got his nose, the front wing in there. It's close. There's still essentially alongside now going into the very high speed turn 4. Oh. He's gonna have to slow down. Preseason wanting to get involved too, but Ryan Malta is still alongside. Is he gonna get that done around the outside? Yes, he does, as Wouter now is down in 3rd. We've got a yellow flag here. I think that was Jamie and going for a little bit of a half spin now, but back to the battle. Preseason right up along the rear diffuser is Wouter. As I thought this was going to happen in 2 laps time, they said no, we'll do it right now. And now Ryan Malta finds himself in 2nd position. And from 21 laps ago, as they were in P14 and P15, the Aston Martins find themselves in positions 1 and 2 now, as they're ending lap 21 and starting lap 22 of the Grand Prix, with Preseason, who was in the lead, now putting a lot of pressure on the Ferrari. Is he going to try to make a lunge now down the outside into turn 1? Hits the brakes late. They're side by side through turn 1. Who's going to get the better traction? It appears as though it will be Preseason on those medium tires. Wouter, though, not giving up without a fight. He's still got his front wing there around the outside, but it is going to be Preseason who does get the overtake done cleanly. So it's going to be the Mercedes driver now in 3rd position, as Wouter losing out a little bit here on those hard tires, down in 4th, and now having to defend from XL Tin Can, who is putting pressure now in P5. Whew, I gotta catch my breath.
Yeah, that has to be some of the best battling we've seen today, and what a way to kick off the season for those two. As side by those two, I should say those 3, Ryan Malta, Preseason, and Wouter putting on quite a show here for us. And if I had better handle on our fancy new replay system, I'd try and give you a replay right now. But I'm gonna figure that out and come back to you in a lap or 2. Now, it was just awesome. Wheel to wheel, everybody giving room, a lot of respect between the drivers, and at the end of the day, they all get through, no spins, nobody being forced wide. That is pure driving, and that's what you want to see.
Yeah, and while you were mentioning that, crucially, XL Tin Can now getting ahead of Wouter with the help of DRS now, as it has been re-enabled. And I think for Wouter, he's missing out on that step with those hard tires compared to everybody else. It's a step that Isak Kush seemed to have found a little bit more, possibly a little bit more comfortable on those harder tires, given his setup, given maybe just the Aston Martin compared to the Ferrari. But it looks like Isak Kush just having a much better drive here after that restart compared to Wouter, who seemingly has not found that extra step with those white wall hard tires. But Isak is down in second. I believe that I wouldn't call it team orders, but I think between the two drivers, Isak realizing that there's no point fighting his teammate who's on the fresher, softer tires, allowing him to go through, allowing him to build that gap, while Isak can now focus on keeping the very, very quick Preseason behind him, who's right up along that rear diffuser, will get DRS to help him down the start-finish straight. Ryan Malta setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, though, in the process, trying to grow this gap. Preseason getting close. Not close enough into turn one, but Isak Kush going a little bit deep there on the exit, not hitting that apex, which opens up Preseason to go side by side. He's going to be forced to go around the outside, take the long way around, but it will turn into the inside, and on those fresher tires, oh, and right as I say that, a big crash for Isak Kush, trying to stay alongside him, but just losing the handle of the car. That is going to bring out another safety car here for to clean up the wreckage, to clean up the debris that was brought out by that big accident from the Aston Martin of Isak Kush.
Well, and I completely missed that accident. I was over here trying to prepare the replay, which I did. So we're going to see the replay of the battle. Fortunately for Izzet, yeah, the lead he had in a replay we're about to watch, it's kind of evaporated now, as he has a big off, and that's the end of his race. And another victim of the curves and the track around here in Hungary. And I'm not going to repeat myself. I won't give the whole spiel again, but I told you so. I should have taken it nicer. But and yeah, all that to say, let's watch this replay here. I do think I got the... Oh, yeah, okay. I made it work right. As we can see, Malta and Wouter side by side. There's turns 2 there. Tries to stick it around the outside. Turn 3 has to go a little bit off track just to keep pace. Doesn't matter. No advantages gained. You see Preseason trying to get involved, and he has to bail out of it. Mid-corner there right before turns 4. Goes around the outside. And that was a beautiful, beautiful overtake from Ryan Malta as Wouter gets a little bit of a wiggle. That lets Preseason almost gets through. And then after that, right when he's done battling Ryan Malta, he's going to have to put up with a big battle from Preseason. And this is at this point that you just realize how strong of a driver Wouter is. There's a reason he's a 3-time champ. It's because he can get these battles, he can make these battles happen. Even if he's on the losing end of them, he doesn't lose much time, and most importantly, he doesn't lose the car. And you can just see how eager Preseason is to pass him there on the worn tires. But it was an absolutely amazing battle from start to finish, and this is the end of this straight where Preseason is finally going to get his opportunity to pass Wouter. He's going to try to stick it around the outside there of turn 1. We can see just how close they're going, the wheels almost touching, and Preseason gets ahead there. Did try to make a little overtake around the outside, but it was no can do, too much traction on those medium tires.
Yeah, but unfortunately, though, I mean, for Wouter, though, now he's taken that pit stop. He was able to get off of those hard tires, which didn't seem to be working too well for him. So that's the good news. He's now been able to pit for a fresh set of soft tires to go hopefully 10 laps to the end. The bad news is, if you can even consider it bad news, given the remaining grid order, he is now last of the running cars in 6th. Under the safety car restart, will be gaining an extra position now as Jamie is pitting off of those hard tires. But it looks like for the most part, a lot of those top four, those quicker
ISRL
drivers, Ryan Malta, Preseason, Wouter, they all pit for a fresh set of soft tires. But a little further ahead, XL Tin Can, he's feeling comfortable on those mediums. He feels like that's the tire to be on till the end of the race. He stayed out, and so did Lorenzo. Lorenzo, I do have to agree upon, just given his the raw pace compared to the drivers behind, relying more on track position to get that outing he needs, rather than relying on overtaking like some of those drivers behind him did. But it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out for the end of from now up until the end of the race. Apologies for that.
Yeah, not too many laps to go. I think we might have hit the limit there on VSCs and safety cars. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's 5 if you count the VSCs.
I do believe so, because I wasn't keeping count, but I thought after the last one we had hit the limit, but I think we had one more in the tank. But I do think this one is definitely might be the last one there, given that limit. Assuming the limit is still present here in this game. I don't know if you got any confirmation about that or not, or if we're gonna find out the hard way. But if it is,
definitely think the limits are the same. I think so.
I'd like to think, and I'd like to hope.
Yeah, if not, we're gonna have it's gonna be a long race, isn't it? So for a preseason race, you'd hope, we'll get it over, we'll get it done with. It's a practice. It's everybody's just getting used to it. We're getting used to the comms. We're getting used to these new fancy computer systems, you know, that we're gonna try to use for the comms. I'm gonna have to try to get some animated transitions for next week, so that's gonna look really cool. But yeah, expect to see some cool stuff with that. I still need to learn how to use it because I downloaded it yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm awesome at just doing everything last minute, but yeah, getting back to green now. I'll let you take over again.
Perfect. So right as we're let's say right as we're jumping into this here, Lorenzo already under pressure from Ryan Malta. It took about one corner for Lorenzo to fall down into third, but now it's XL Tin Can having a moment on the exit of turn 2. That is going to be XL Tin Can out of this race. Lorenzo now going side by side with Preseason, but Preseason with his pace a little bit too much to handle for Lorenzo on those medium tires. But next up, and good news but bad news for Lorenzo, Preseason's ahead, but now he's got to fend off the ever so dangerous Ariel Wouter if Lorenzo wants that podium position from now until the end of the race. And he is probably hoping to God that Ferrari can stay behind him there. But on lap 27 out of 35, it's all to play for here. But for XL Tin Can, getting that restart he needed, but unfortunately maybe getting a little bit too overzealous on the exit of turn 1, maybe feeling the pressure brought from the likes of Ryan Malta, from the likes of Preseason, just trying to get that extra pace, and unfortunately not working out for him, as now we have 5 drivers remaining in this Grand Prix. Lap 28 out of 35. Here comes Wouter now, making a move down the inside, nails the braking zone, nails the overtake. Lorenzo gonna fight back, but I think it might have been a little bit more for show than anything else, given the tire differential. Wouter on those fresh soft tires, Lorenzo on those medium tires. So just like that, we've got the familiar 3 back into their positions. Ryan Malta is leading the way. Preseason chasing him down. The tires are the same. It's going to come down to pure pace for these 2 drivers. Wouter, though, a little bit further behind. He's lost some time trying to get past Lorenzo. Wasn't able to get past quick enough. So he's gonna have to close up 2 seconds now to catch up to those top 2. But I do notice now the top 2 do have penalties, and they're both sitting on 3 seconds of penalties. So for Wouter, he's very happy with where he is now, 2.2 seconds behind. But you can't be giving up, you can't be letting up, or else you might see that gap grow to much more than 3 seconds and lose out on that possibility. And of course, and Knight, correct me if I'm wrong, I'd be lying if I said Wouter wouldn't want to get that overtake done on track for the sole purpose of bragging rights there to his fellow Division 1 drivers.
Oh, of course. You pass somebody on track, it's you get to brag about it. You pass them on penalties, and it's, whoa, I didn't deserve the penalty because blah, 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 you know? pass them on track, you get, not only do you get bragging rights, but you get to make sure that that position stays. Who knows? It's obviously not going to matter today. It's a preseason. There's not going to be any stewarding, let's be real. But in a real race, maybe, you know, that sometimes drivers do get 3-second penalties taken off, whether it's from the penalty itself not being fair or the circumstances of other penalties allowing them to remove some of their penalty time. Pass them on track, then you know that's your overtake. You don't have to worry about the stewards. So always better that way.
Yep, and I was gonna say, right as we were making that point, Ariel Wouter showing that if he wants to get the overtake done, he's gonna want to do it on track, not necessarily the way he would have liked though. As while we were making that point, he took a 3-second time penalty of his own, essentially evening out the playing field between the top two drivers and he himself. But Wouter seemingly to be falling back. That gap is continuing to grow here as we're on lap 30 out of 35. All the while, though, Preseason has been very much so keeping right behind Ryan Malta, as we're seeing on your screen right now. Half a second behind Ryan Malta, chasing him down over the course of the final few laps. But it seems to be a bit more of a two-car race now, rather than a three-car race, as I was expecting it to be only a lap or two ago. But the question now is, can Preseason find enough in the tank to get the overtake done here between now and the end of the race? As Ryan Malta doing what he has to do now, at least through Sector 2, to try to keep this gap reasonable. But Preseason still remaining in DRS range, so can catch back up here down the start-finish straight, the longest straight of the track. And once again, after turn 1, heading towards the downhill turn 2 and turn 3. But here we go, starting lap 31. It's still Ryan Malta leading the way in first position for the Aston Martin after starting from the back of the grid. I do still have to give a reminder of that. I do keep bringing that up, but it's still crazy to see him from the essentially the back of the grid up to the lead of the race here. And unless Preseason has anything to say about it, it might be Ryan Malta's race to lose here in this preseason event. But Preseason making a strong case, sets a purple first sector here on lap 31 as we're riding on board with if he can keep it up here through sector 2 and 3, he might have enough there to maybe get an overtake done to start lap 32. But I did hear something from you, Knight. Did you catch
I was very scared. No, he just had a big snap, and it terrified me. He was on a curve, and I thought we were going to witness disaster. So I couldn't stop myself. The sound just came out.
No, fair enough. I was too busy making my point. I was riding on board with them and completely missed it. Didn't even think twice about it. I was just watching Preseason flying around the circuit. But Ryan Malta, we saw, went a little bit wide on that ever so troublesome corner at the end of sector 2. Hasn't affected him too much, but you can see that DRS flap is open for Preseason, so catching right back up, brought his car close, but not close enough. But it seems as though Preseason is making up a couple tenths of a second every lap now. Not as quick as we've seen him before, but of course Ryan Malta takes as far as I'm aware, as far as I've heard, takes league racing regardless of the league very seriously. Puts a lot of work into it, does Ryan Malta, and it seems to be paying dividends for him here in this stage of the race. And crucially, and I just noticed this now, Preseason taking another 3-second time penalty, bringing his total up to 6 seconds, making the job that much more difficult for the Mercedes driver here, especially taking it this late in the race, about 2.5 laps to the end of the Grand Prix.
It's yeah, we are getting to the end, and I'm surprised Lorenzo is sticking it out on those mediums. I would have just gone for fastest lap at this point. But can Preseason get by Ryan Malta? We'll wait and see there as they start lap 33 out of 35, 3 more times around the track. And that DRS is it's not enough, is it? I don't know if it's the downforce difference between the two cars, but he's not closing up that gap at all.
No, and it's exactly the case that, I mean, even as much as the gap is closing, I do see he is closing with the help of the DRS. It's just the straight isn't long enough to allow him to get alongside. I think a lot of that might have to do with how Ryan Malta is handling the exit of the final corner, and possibly sector 2, sector 3 as well, just able to manage that gap, keep it wide enough to not allow Preseason to get alongside even when he does have DRS. But I'm going to take a quick peek here. Ryan Malta, not too much ERS left in the tank, maybe about 10% or so if I very quickly get that telemetry up. So no, 25% and counting for Ryan Malta. Preseason, meanwhile, well, a very similar battery life, so they're on even playing fields. Preseason once again about 3-4 tenths behind, and as we're about to start the penultimate lap, are we going to see more of the same? It looks like it's going to be the case. Ryan Malta just...
A little closer, but not close enough. A little closer, but not close enough here. Maybe he's going to have one more try, I think, at the start.
Bit of a tank slapper, though, for Ryan Malta, but Preseason says, I'm going to follow you along with that tank slapper. Thought about Sorry, go.
Keep going. He thought about it and it scared me.
Yeah, thought about going for an overtake there. I got a little bit scared as well, but backs out of it, and you're starting to see the desperation in the behind the wheel of Preseason now, realizing it's the penultimate lap. He's gonna have to get the overtake done and try to build that gap. But Ryan Malta making that Aston Martin look as big as he can on the circuit, making it seem like there's 2 or 3 of them right alongside. Just unable to allow Preseason any opportunity to get by, and nailing those corner exits like he needs to do to just grow the gap. Preseason, that little slapper on the exit of that corner isn't gonna help, but we'll see. Ooh, another one there, and you can see Preseason, he's starting to get a little bit anxious behind the wheel. He's starting to try to force these exits, but it seems to be affecting him more than anything else. You can see the frustration wobbling the car down the start-finish straight a little bit, and I think now as we're starting the final lap, barring some crazy finish here that, I mean, I'm going to knock on wood because anything can happen here. I do think Preseason's window of opportunity has closed in front of his very eyes here, as we're very much so about past a third, nearing half a lap to go in this Grand Prix, with Ryan Malta still hanging on to the lead of the race, but Preseason definitely still keeping him honest. But I do think the Mercedes driver is hoping for a mistake, but for Ryan Malta's case, they've been few and far between here. Keeping calm under pressure is the Aston Martin, the number 13 of Ryan Malta, and with only a few corners to go now in this Grand Prix, it looks as though it will be Ryan Malta in the Aston Martin. Around the final corner he goes, nails the exit, opens up the ERS I should say. Ryan Malta taking the victory, and Preseason crossing the line in style, in frustration, however you want to say it. He gets P2 with Ariel Wouter still finding his way on the podium, on track, but losing out on the podium as Jamie 1 snags the podium in this preseason race, driving clean, not taking penalties, and that's all it took for the Haas to find himself on the podium. Wouter on the outside looking in, but still a solid drive from the Ferrari driver there, as now Lorenzo, the last to cross the line here, with still a very solid but very distant P5 on track for him.
So, getting some good information in our Division 1 chat here. Apparently, Wouter had rear wing damage for much of that race.
Oh, my goodness.
20 laps with rear wing damage. That would explain why he was struggling with pace a little bit. And Preseason not happy with the track limits for sure. And you can see just the way he crossed the line there, really taking out his frustration. He was across the line, and we don't really care if you crash after you cross the line there. Just don't do it before. So very likely nobody's going to do anything about that. But it's a nice little way for him, I guess, to release his frustration. And you saw him just slamming that car in the wall after the finish. Still a good race for him. He put on a brilliant battle, but clearly frustrated with the way it turned out. And with the 6 seconds in penalties, I think as soon as he took that second one there, it was game over in terms of catching Ryan Malta.
Yep, so there you have it. It is Ryan Malta in the Aston Martin, starting from 14th on the grid, bringing that Aston Martin home for the victory here in this preseason race. Preseason close but not close enough after starting from pole. Still a P2 for him, and still a strong showing all considered. Jamie getting that final podium position in the Haas. Congratulations to all the podium there, with Wouter in 4th and Lorenzo the last of the finishing cars. After that, it's the wall of DNFs. XL Tin Can, Izat Kush, Nathan JB, Appin Starchier 321, Mark Eklund, D Morts, AJ Wuhan, Do Will, and Wagner rounding out the grid here. Now, I mean, that is going to do it here for the end of the race. And I'll be honest, my thoughts going into the first race next season is practice.
Yeah, lots of practice. That's going to be the theme. I think you're not going to want 5 finishers next week, because I think a lot of guys might see the stream and go, well, if I just take it slow, I can get a free podium, because everybody else is going to crash out. I think we're going to see a lot more caution and a lot more guys taking it easy next week, because that was an absolutely chaotic Grand Prix.
Yep, chaotic is definitely the best way to put it here. But it was exciting either way to watch, and I think that'll just about do it here for the stream here today. Now, Knight, before we close off, any final words here before we kick off the end of the stream?
Not too many, of course. I did want to thank everybody who's tuned in. There's not too many of you left, but thank you for watching right up until the end. Thank you to our partners, Advanced Sim Racing, who make some awesome custom sim rigs right here out of Canada. IMB Raceware as well for providing us with our merch. And, of course, IFEA and Jackson Protection Agency for your continued support. You guys can go check out their links in the description. Make sure to check out their pages as well. Give them the same love that you guys give us. And other than that, I mean, hey, it's the end of the preseason race. It's nothing crazy. It's a race that doesn't matter, but ultimately I think we got some good data. Both we and the drivers got some good data for the season ahead, and we got a good eye of what to watch out for. And I think this year we're not going to have to watch out for the drivers. We're going to have to watch out for the track, the curbs, and the track limits. And I think they're going to play a much bigger role than we anticipate in the coming season. But with that, I mean, it was a race. We had some action. We had a lot of DNFs, but we had some good overtakes, some good battles as well. And we'll see everybody in Austria next week. I'll let you close it off in your signature way there, and we'll switch the stream over after.
All right, so thank you, Knight, for that. I'm honestly, this has got me really excited for what we can expect to see once we start for real next week around Austria. That is definitely not something you're going to want to miss, so make sure to tune in same time, same place next week for the official start of the season. But on behalf of myself, Knight, and everybody here at ISRL Esports, I just want to say thank you so
not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita.